I believe any color combinations can work. There are plenty of successful designs out there with absolutely outrageous color schemes. Let's go through placing our local colors or flats now. And this part is easy with Neat Line Art. There are a couple ways to go about this. For example, the first method is to create a new layer underneath the line art. Take the magic wand, expand, and select. Usually I will select the part outside the line work, otherwise there'll be too many details to select on the inside. So I will go ahead and select all the negative space and invert the selection. Pick a color and fill just to check if we have selected correct areas. And you can repeat these for as many layers as you like with individual parts using your line work as reference. You can also make the line art layer as a selection source by clicking this icon here, set as a reference layer, and you can select your color layer. And we can see that it selects just what you want within that line art as a reference. Now with color schemes, we can choose to go harmonious or create stark contrast for visual impact. Feel free to search for color palettes, whether it be from Adobe's free library online or your own photo references, etc. Color theory and complementary schemes are often brought up, but I believe any color combinations can work as long as you have a brief you can stick to. There are plenty of successful designs out there with absolutely outrageous color schemes, but they are successful because they work, and their intention is to be that outrageous in order to have that sort of impact. That's why the brief is really important. But if you need some sort of reference, I think the best way is to observe from nature, like taking a photograph of something you like outside during a time of day of your choosing, and color picking from that photo. Make sure to lock the opacity of the layers so that if you paint over, it doesn't go out of bounds. We can do some light render just to polish up the design and make it look more marketable. Sometimes this process can be skipped and sometimes it will finish at this stage if you are pressed for time from the client. But we can apply basic shading techniques to bring extra refinement as efficiently as possible in this session. Use the multiply layer for simple cell shade in areas with shadow that we can find the layer mode here, and the overlay layer for enhancing gradients at parts that you want to look more visual striking. Then we can apply some subtle lighting using the glow layer mode and painting in a rim light, which can be a strong light source that is casted onto the character to enhance readability further. A bit of subtlety in each step goes a long way when it comes to the finished product. So for this part where we have the glow layer clipped to the design layer just underneath the draw over, I'll typically use a darker color. That's because if we use white, it tends to be a little bit too bright, and at the moment we don't really want that because the character is situated on a light background. So feel free to pick any color of your choosing. For example, I may go with orange for a warm rim light tone, but we can always change the hue later. Now, so I want my light source coming in from this way. We won't paint around the full edges. We'll only paint on certain parts where we think the light source may hit. And with light sources, we want to make sure that not all the light sources are equal. For example, the fill light, which is the environment light, and there might be like a key light coming in from the top right onto the character, or I might have it coming from the bottom right. So with 2 or 3 light sources, we don't want to make it balanced. We do want to create contrast, and in order to do that, we have to make sure that the values essentially for each light source are not equal. Basically, this is wrong. We should not have everything in a equal distribution in terms of light source. So what's actually good that's might happen here, a very strong key light, not so much fill, and maybe much less of a backlight. In this case, this would be a better scenario. Now, this will depend wholly on your composition of the picture, so please just keep that in mind. After laying down flats, for more visual appeal and contrast, we can use harmonious colors from the main color that we pick. And these are colors next to each other on the color wheel, using a soft brush to form a subtle gradient on each layer. To some extent, this also acts as occlusion on the character's form, making it look less flat against the background context. We'll want to build up visual information layer by layer or by accumulative strokes to enhance the artwork. So we can also pick colors from the opposite end of the color wheel to create that contrast in certain places, but try not to overdo this. Alright, we're getting pretty close to the final stages of the painting, so we'll be focusing on refining of detail, post-processing, such as putting final touches that will add to the piece and bring more life into the painting, and I'll go over again any other problem areas that may need more fixing or perhaps more painting. I would just like to add a note from the previous session that I have quite a few atmosphere layers going on, and these are basically paint over gradient layers, maybe some with assets to them, and these are there to help create depth into the painting, help the characters stand out more, and certain subjects, like we can see here, with this particular prop standing out from the background, and it's purely for visual separation.